Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the heart of ancient Persia, where the sun is a merciless overseer and the air shimmers with heat. You find yourself trudging along a dusty road, the soles of your sandals nearly melting, your tunic sticking to your back. The city ahead, maybe it's Pasargadae, maybe Persepolis, glows white in the midday sun, its walls and towers rising from the plain like a mirage. The sky is a hard, endless blue, and the only thing more relentless than the sun is the wind, which, unfortunately, feels like someone's opened the world's largest oven door. You squint, searching for shade, but even the shadows seem to sweat. You pass a group of travelers huddled under a faded awning, fanning themselves with whatever they can find, palms, hats, or a stray chicken feather. The air is thick and heavy, and you wonder how anyone survives a Persian summer without turning into a raisin. Spoiler, you probably won't survive this if you don't find some relief soon. The city's stone streets radiate heat, and you can almost hear them sizzle. Somewhere, a dog is panting in the shade, looking at you with the universal expression of, "Why did I come outside?" You're not sure if you're sweating or just slowly evaporating. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're still awake, let me know your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're listening from. Maybe you're in a place just as hot as ancient Persia, or perhaps you're curled up somewhere cool, living the dream. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step through the city gates, and the heat hits you like a wall. The guards barely glance up, too busy wiping sweat from their brows. You notice that everyone moves slowly, conserving energy, as if the whole city is stuck in a slow-motion dream. The market is a blur of color and sound. Vendors selling dates, melons, and cool jugs of water. You spot a boy with a basket of pomegranates, the fruit glistening like rubies. He offers you one, and you take it, grateful for the burst of juice, even if it dribbles down your chin. In this heat, dignity is optional. However, as you look around, you can't help but be inspired by the resilience of these individuals, who not only survive but thrive despite such adversity. You wander deeper into the city, searching for relief. The buildings are made of thick mud brick, their walls painted white to reflect the sun. You duck into a narrow alley, where the shade is a little deeper, and the air feels almost cool. Almost. You hear the distant splash of water and follow the sound, hoping for a miracle. You pass a group of women drawing water from a well, their laughter echoing off the walls. One of them waves you over, offering a cup. The water is calm, drawn from deep underground, and you savor every drop. Here's your first historical fact. Ancient Persians were masters at finding and storing water, even in the harshest deserts. Their ingenuity in this area, from deep wells to underground aqueducts, is truly impressive. You wipe your brow and look around. The city is alive, despite the heat. Children chase each other through the streets, their laughter rising above the hum of daily life. Merchants haggle over prices, their voices sharp and quick. Somewhere, a musician plucks a tune on a setter, the notes drifting through the air like a promise of cooler days. You spot a group of elders sitting in the shade, playing a game with stones and sticks. One of them looks up and grins. "Hot enough for you?" he asks. You nod, and he laughs, shaking his head. Wait until August. You keep moving, drawn by the promise of water and shade. You notice that some houses have small towers on their roofs, open at the top. The towers catch the wind, funneling it down into the rooms below. You feel a faint breeze as you pass, and for a moment you understand why people have lived here for thousands of years. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persians believed that a good windcatcher could even keep out evil spirits, though historians still argue whether that was just wishful thinking or clever marketing by ancient architects. You pause in a courtyard, where a fountain bubbles in the center. The water sparkles in the sunlight, and the air feels cooler here, almost fresh. You sit on the edge, dipping your fingers into the water, and let yourself relax. The city's rhythm slows, and you feel the tension melt away. You realize that, In ancient Persia, survival wasn't just about enduring the heat. It was about mastering it, turning the desert into a place of comfort and beauty. The way they've managed to create such a serene oasis amid such harsh conditions is truly a wonder to behold. You close your eyes, listening to the sound of water, the distant laughter, and the soft rustle of wind in the trees. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, at least for now. But don't get too comfortable. The Persian summer is just getting started, and you've got a lot more to discover about how these ancient innovators kept their cool. You stand and wander further, taking note of the clever layout of the city. Streets are narrow, twisting, and shaded by overhanging balconies. This design not only provided shade but also allowed for better air circulation, making the city more bearable in the scorching heat. You pass a merchant selling clay pots, each one designed to keep water cool for hours. He winks and tells you, "The secret is in the clay and a little bit of luck." You buy a small pot, feeling the coolness seep into your hands. You wonder if modern refrigerators are just jealous of Persian pottery. You spot a group of children splashing in a shallow pool, their laughter echoing off the walls. Water was a precious resource in ancient Persia, and they devised ingenious ways to keep it cool, such as the clay pots you just purchased. A woman nearby fans herself with a palm leaf, her eyes half closed in bliss. She tells you, "The best way to survive the heat is to pretend you're a fish." You try it, dipping your feet in the water, and for a moment you almost believe her. As the sun begins to dip, the city glows gold. The air cools just enough to make you forget the worst of the day. You realize that, in ancient Persia, every detail, from the shape of a window to the placement of a fountain, was designed to fight the heat. Historians still debate whether the Persians were the first to invent actual air conditioning. But as you sit in the shade, feeling the breeze and listening to the water, you're pretty sure they were onto something. You wander deeper into the city, the sun still blazing overhead, but now you're starting to notice the subtle ways the Persians have learned to outsmart it. You pass under a series of archways, each one casting a patch of shade that feels like a tiny oasis. The air here is a little cooler, a little softer, and you realize that even the city's layout is part of the plan. Streets twist and turn, not just to confuse invading armies, but to break up the wind and keep the sun from baking every inch of stone. You duck into a side street, grateful for the relief, and find yourself standing before the grand walls of a palace. This is Persepolis, the jewel of the Persian Empire, where kings once ruled and the world's wealth flowed in like a river. The palace is massive, its columns rising high above your head, each one carved with images of lions, bulls, and mythical creatures. You step inside, and the temperature drops noticeably. The thick stone walls and high ceilings trap the coolness, and you feel a shiver run down your spine, a welcome change from the furnace outside. You wonder if the king ever had to worry about sweat stains on his royal robes. If he did, you can bet he had a servant whose only job was to fan him and another to invent the world's first deodorant. The luxury and comfort of the palace are truly indulgent, a stark contrast to the harsh desert that surrounds it. You walk through the grand halls, your footsteps echoing on the polished floors. Servants creep, carrying trays of fruit and pitchers of water. You catch a glimpse of the royal gardens through an open doorway. The greenery is lush and vibrant, even in the heart of the desert. You realize that the Persians didn't just endure the heat, they turned it into a backdrop for their comfort and luxury. Here's your historical fact. Persian kings, especially Darius and Xerxes, invested heavily in architecture that could withstand the harsh climate, using thick walls, shaded courtyards, and clever ventilation to keep their palaces cool. It's imposing how they managed to create such a comfortable oasis amid the desert. You pause in a shaded alcove, where a gentle breeze stirs the air. You notice a small opening high in the wall, angled to catch the wind and funnel it down into the room. The breeze is faint, but it's enough to make you sigh in relief. A servant nearby sees your interest and smiles. "The king does not like to sweat," he says, a twinkle in his eye. "So we make sure he never has to." You laugh, thinking that some things never change. Rulers have always found ways to stay comfortable, even if the rest of us are left to melt in the sun. You step out into the palace courtyard, where a shallow pool reflects the sky. The water is calm, fed by underground channels that bring fresh water from miles away. Children play at the edge, their laughter mingling with the sound of the water splashing. You dip your hand in, feeling the chill, and marvel at the ingenuity it took to create such a haven in the middle of the desert. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persian palaces even had stone benches built over these water channels, so you could sit and feel the cool air rising from below. It's the ancient version of air conditioning, no electricity required, just a little engineering and a lot of patience. You wander through the gardens, the air fragrant with the scent of roses and jasmine. Shade trees line the paths, their branches heavy with fruit. You spot a gardener tending to a row of cypress trees, his face shaded by a wide-brimmed hat. He waves you over and offers you a fig, still warm from the sun. You bite into it, the sweetness bursting on your tongue, and for a moment you forget the heat entirely. The gardener tells you that the king's architects studied the wind, the sun, and the flow of water, designing every corner of the palace to capture the coolest breezes and the deepest shade. You sit on a stone bench, letting the cool air wash over you. You notice that the palace is full of small details. Narrow windows, thick curtains, and high ceilings, all working together to keep the heat at bay. You wonder how many hours were spent planning every angle, every opening, to make sure the king could nap in peace. Historians still argue whether these innovations were borrowed from earlier civilizations or invented by the Persians themselves. Still, everyone agrees that the Persians perfected the art of staying cool, making significant contributions to architectural innovations. As the afternoon wears on, you watch the palace come alive with activity. Servants carry trays of chilled fruit, musicians play soft melodies, and the king himself appears on a shaded balcony, waving to his guests. You realize that, in ancient Persia, comfort was not just a necessity, but a sign of power, a way to show the world that you could bend even the harshest climate to your will. You can't help but feel a little envious, imagining yourself lounging in the shade, sipping pomegranate juice while the rest of the world sweats. You leave the palace, stepping back into the sun, but now you see the city with new eyes. Every building, every street, and every garden is part of a grand design, a plan to turn the desert into a place of comfort and beauty. You realize that the Persians didn't just survive the heat, they conquered it one cool breeze at a time. Their influence is evident in every corner of the city, enlightening you about their remarkable architectural innovations. You wander past a group of architects huddled over a clay model of the city. They're arguing about the best way to angle a wind catcher, a traditional Persian architectural feature designed to catch and direct the wind into buildings for cooling. Their hands are waving in the air as they debate. One insists that a north-facing tower brings the best breeze, while another swears by a west-facing design. You realize that even in ancient times, architects could argue for hours about which way the wind blows. Historians still debate whether these early wind catchers were inspired by Persian ingenuity or borrowed from their neighbors. However, the evidence suggests a culture obsessed with comfort. You pass a servant carrying a basket of wet reeds, which he hangs in a doorway. The breeze passes through the reeds, cooling the air as it enters the room. You try standing in the doorway, and the difference is immediate. A soft, cool breath of air, like a secret shared between you and the desert. You wonder if this is the world's first swamp cooler, and you make a mental note to thank the next reed you see. As the sun begins to set, the palace glows gold, and the air cools just enough to make you forget the worst of the day. You realize that, in ancient Persia, every detail, from the shape of a window to the placement of a fountain, was designed to fight the heat. You leave the palace behind, stepping back into the city, ready to discover even more ways the Persians turned the desert into a place of comfort and beauty. You wander away from the palace, the memory of its cool halls and shaded gardens lingering like a pleasant dream. The city outside is still buzzing, but now you're drawn to something new. Those strange towers you noticed earlier, rising from rooftops like giant chimneys. You follow a narrow street, the walls on either side closing in, until you reach a house with one of these towers perched on top. The locals call it a badger or wind catcher, and you're about to find out why. You stand in the shadow of the tower, marveling at its simple yet ingenious design. The structure, tall, hollow, and open to the wind on all sides, is a testament to the brilliance of ancient Persian engineering. You feel a faint breeze at your feet, and when you step inside the house, the difference is immediate. The air is noticeably cooler, almost as if someone has left a door open to a secret mountain valley. You let out a sigh of relief, and the homeowner grins at you from across the room. "First time under a badger?" he asks, his eyes twinkling. You nod and he laughs. "You'll never want to leave." He invites you to sit on a woven mat near the center of the room. The floor is covered in patterned rugs, and the walls are thick, painted a pale color that seems to drink in the light and reflect it as a gentle glow. You notice that the windows are small and set high, letting in light but not the harshest rays of the sun. The homeowner pours you a cup of cool water from a clay jug and gestures for you to sit back and relax. "The wind does the work here," he says, "and we just enjoy it." Here's your historical fact. The wind catcher is one of ancient Persia's most brilliant inventions, a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of its people. These towers were designed to catch even the faintest breeze, channeling it down into the rooms below. The air would flow through the house, pushing out the hot, stale air and replacing it with fresh, cool air. Some wind catchers were even connected to underground water channels, so the air would pass over the water and cool even further before entering the living spaces. It's a system so effective that you'll still find wind catchers in use today, especially in the city of Yazd. You climb a narrow staircase to the roof, where you can see the city spread out before you. Dozens of wind catchers dot the skyline, each one angled to catch the prevailing wind. You watch as a flock of birds swoops past, their wings flashing in the sunlight. The breeze up here is strong, and you can feel it tugging at your clothes, eager to be put to work. The homeowner joins you, pointing out the different styles of wind catchers, some tall and slender, others short and wide, each one designed for a specific wind or season. He tells you that building a good wind catcher is part science, part art, and part family tradition. "My grandfather taught my father, and my father taught me," he says, pride in his voice. "We watch the wind, we listen to the city, and we build what the house needs." You realize that in ancient Persia, architecture wasn't just about walls and roofs. It was about understanding the world around you and working with it, not against it. The wind catcher, in its elegant simplicity, is a perfect example of this harmony with nature, a connection that you now feel deeply. You ask if the wind catcher ever fails. He laughs. "Sometimes the wind is lazy or the sand gets in the way, but most days it works like magic." He shows you a small trapdoor at the base of the tower, which can be opened or closed to control the airflow. If the wind is too strong, we close it. If it's too hot, we open it wide. It's like having your weather dial. You can't help but think that modern air conditioning has nothing on this. No electricity, no noise, just the gentle whisper of the wind. He leads you back down, and you notice a clever detail. The walls of the stairwell are lined with smooth tiles, cool to the touch. The tiles help keep the air fresh, he explains, and they're easy to clean when the dust storms come. You imagine a modern home improvement show, with a host raving about ancient Persian tilework. Keeps your house cool and your mother-in-law impressed. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persians believed that wind catchers could also trap mischievous spirits, keeping them from sneaking into the house. Children would sometimes leave little offerings at the base of the tower, flowers, pebbles, or even a sweet date, to keep the spirits happy and the breezes flowing. Historians still debate whether this was a genuine belief or merely a means to encourage children to help with household chores. But either way, it lends a touch of magic to the technology. You sit for a moment, letting the air wash over you, and you realize that this is more than just comfort. It's survival. In a land where the sun can bake bread on a stone, the wind catcher is a lifeline, a way to turn the harshest climate into a place you can call home. You notice that the family's cat has claimed the breeziest spot in the house, stretched out and purring in the cool draft. Even the animals know where to find the best seat. You thank your host and step back into the street, the heat hitting you like a wall. But now you know the secret. Somewhere, high above your head, the wind is waiting, ready to be caught and tamed. You look up at the towers, each one a silent sentinel, and you feel a new respect for the people who built them. They didn't just endure the desert, they learned to dance with it. You wander on, the city alive with the sound of wind and water, and you wonder what other secrets the Persians have hidden in plain sight. The story of ancient air conditioning is just beginning, and you're right in the middle of it. You pass another house, this one with a double wind catcher, one side open to the north, the other to the east. The owner waves and shouts, "Try both! It's like having two seasons in one room." You laugh, realizing that in ancient Persia, even the weather can be customized, at least if you know the right architect. You leave the windcatcher house behind, curiosity pulling you toward the next marvel. The air outside is thick and heavy again, but you're starting to notice the little tricks people use to keep cool. Narrow alleys, shaded courtyards, and the ever-present sound of water. You follow a group of children as they dart down a side street, their laughter echoing off the walls. They disappear behind a low mud brick wall, and you slip in after them, finding yourself in a quiet courtyard. In the center stands a round, domed structure, its surface smooth and pale, almost glowing in the afternoon sun. The children run up to it, pressing their hands against the cool wall and giggling. One of them calls it a yakshal, and you realize you're looking at one of ancient Persia's greatest secrets, the ice house. You circle the yakshal, marveling at its size. It resembles a giant upside-down bowl, rising from the earth with a quiet confidence. The walls are thick, sometimes up to 2 meters, and made from a special mixture of clay, sand, lime, and goat hair. This ancient supermud is so good at keeping out heat that you half expect to see a modern insulation company taking notes. You find a small, arched doorway and duck inside, the air instantly dropping several degrees. It's dark and quiet, the only sound your footsteps on the packed earth floor. You take a deep breath, and the air feels almost damp, a rare treat in the desert. Here's your historical fact. The yakshal was an ancient Persian invention for making and storing ice, even in the middle of the desert. During the cold winter nights, water was poured into shallow pools outside the yakshal, where it would freeze. The ice was then collected and stored inside the dome, where the thick walls and clever ventilation kept it frozen for months. In the heat of summer, the yakshal became a treasure trove of coolness, a place where you could find ice for drinks, desserts, and even medical treatments. Some yakshals were so large they could hold tons of ice, enough to keep an entire neighborhood cool. You run your hand along the inside wall, feeling the chill seep into your skin. The air smells faintly of earth and old water, but it's not unpleasant. You imagine the excitement of opening the yakshal on a blazing summer day, pulling out a block of ice to share with friends. The children crowd around a small opening in the floor, peering down into the storage pit below. One of them drops a pebble, and you hear it clink against something hard. That's where the ice is. A boy whispers, eyes wide with wonder. You can't help but smile. This is ancient air conditioning at its most magical. A man enters, carrying a basket of fruit. He nods to you and sets the basket down, pulling out a handful of grapes. He places them on a flat stone near the ice, explaining that the cold air will keep them fresh for days. "The king's table always has cool fruit," he says with a wink. "But we get a taste, too." He offers you a grape, and it's crisp and sweet, the chill making it taste like a treat from another world. He tells you that the yakshal isn't just for ice. In the hottest months, families will sometimes gather here to escape the heat, sitting on mats and sharing stories while the air stays calm and gentle. "It's the best place for a nap," he says. "Unless you're a melon, then it's a little too cold." You laugh, picturing a family picnic inside a giant refrigerator, everyone bundled in shawls while the world outside bakes. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persians used the yakshal not just for ice, but for making a kind of early ice cream. They would mix snow or ice with fruit syrups and rosewater, creating a dessert called faluda. It's a tradition that survives in Iran to this day, and you can almost taste the incredible sweetness as you imagine it. Historians still argue whether the Persians invented ice cream or just perfected it, but either way, you're grateful for their creativity. You wonder if anyone ever tried to sneak a second helping, or if ancient Persian parents had to invent the phrase, "No faluda before dinner." You step back outside, blinking in the sunlight. The children are already running off to their next adventure, but you linger, taking one last look at the yakshal. You realize that this simple dome is more than just a storage room. It's a symbol of Persian ingenuity, a reminder that even in the harshest climate, people can find ways to create comfort and joy. You wander through the neighborhood, noticing more yakshals tucked between houses and gardens. Some are old and crumbling, their domes cracked by time, while others are freshly plastered, their surfaces gleaming in the sun. You see a group of women carrying baskets of herbs and vegetables, heading toward a yakshal to keep their produce cool. They wave as you pass, inviting you to join them. You help carry a basket, feeling the weight of fresh mint and cucumbers, and you realize that the yakshal is not just a marvel of engineering. It's a part of daily life, woven into the rhythm of the city. As the sun begins to set, you sit on a low wall, watching the shadows stretch across the courtyard. The air is cooler now, and you can hear the distant sound of music drifting from a nearby house. You think about all the ways the Persians have learned to tame the heat: wind catchers, thick walls, shaded streets, and now, the miracle of ice in the desert. Historians still debate whether the yakshal was the first true refrigerator, but as you savor the memory of that cold grape, you're convinced it was the coolest invention of its time. You close your eyes, letting the evening breeze wash over you, and a deep sense of wonder fills you. The Persians didn't just survive the desert. They turned it into a place of comfort, community, and even a little bit of magic. You stand, ready to discover what other secrets this ancient city has to offer, your mind already dreaming of the next cool breeze. You wonder if, centuries from now, people will look back at your air conditioning and marvel at how you ever survived without a yakshal in your backyard. You leave the yakshal behind, stepping back into the evening air, which now feels almost gentle compared to the midday blaze. The city is winding down, but you notice that the rhythm of life in the insula, these Persian neighborhoods, never really stops. You wander through a maze of narrow streets, each one lined with houses built close together, their thick mud brick walls glowing softly in the fading light. You're curious about how ordinary people, not just kings and nobles, manage to keep cool in their homes. After all, not everyone has a palace or a private ice dome. You duck into a small courtyard, where a family is gathered for dinner. They wave you over, and you're welcomed like an old friend. A grapevine shades the courtyard, its leaves forming a living roof that filters the last rays of sunlight. The air here is noticeably cooler, and you realize that even the simplest homes are designed with comfort in mind. The family sits on woven mats around a low table, sharing bread, cheese, and fresh herbs. You join them, grateful for the hospitality and the chance to rest your feet. Here's your historical fact. Most Persian homes were ingeniously built with thick walls, small windows, and high ceilings to keep the heat out and the cool in. The floors were often made of packed earth or tile, which stayed cool even on the hottest days. Many houses had a central courtyard, open to the sky but shaded by trees or vines, where families could gather to eat, talk, and sleep during the summer months. This courtyard, often the heart of the home, not only provided a communal space for the family but also acted as a natural cooling system, allowing hot air to escape and cool air to circulate. The design was not just simple, but a testament to the Persians' ingenuity, turning every home into a personal oasis. You notice a small pool in the center of the courtyard, its surface reflecting the evening sky. The father explains that the pool isn't just for decoration. It helps cool the air as it evaporates, creating a gentle breeze that drifts through the house. On the hottest nights, we sleep out here, he says, listening to the water and watching the stars. You imagine lying on a mat, the air cool and sweet, the sounds of the city fading into the background. It's a far cry from tossing and turning in a stuffy bedroom, counting the minutes until sunrise. The mother shows you another trick. She hangs wet cloths over the doorways and windows, letting the breeze pass through and cool the rooms inside. It's like having a river in your house, she jokes, wringing out a cloth and draping it over a window. You feel the difference immediately. A soft, cool breath of air, like a secret shared between you and the desert. You wonder if this is the world's first swamp cooler, and you make a mental note to thank the next read you see. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some families would even bury clay jars of water in the ground, letting the earth keep them cool. At night, they'd dig up the jars and enjoy a drink that felt like it came from a mountain spring. Children sometimes played a game to see who could find the coolest spot in the courtyard, lying flat on the tiles and declaring themselves king of the cold. The simplicity and effectiveness of these methods are genuinely inspiring. Historians still argue whether these tricks were passed down from generation to generation or invented out of desperation on the hottest days. You help the family clear the table, and the children invite you to join their game. You lie back on the cool tiles, staring up at the sky as the first stars appear. The air is filled with the scent of mint and bread, and you feel a deep sense of peace. The father tells stories of his childhood, of nights spent sleeping under the stars, of the first time he saw snow brought down from the mountains in a caravan of camels. We thought it was magic, he says, but it was just clever people and a lot of hard work. This tradition of storytelling, passed down from generation to generation, is a key part of Persian culture, preserving the wisdom and experiences of the past and fostering a sense of community and togetherness. As the night deepens, the family brings out blankets and pillows, making beds right there in the courtyard. You realize that, in ancient Persia, the line between indoors and outdoors is blurred. Homes are designed to let the breeze in while keeping the heat out, fostering a sense of community and togetherness. You wonder how many summer nights have been spent like this, families gathered under the stars, sharing stories and dreams. The grandmother, sitting quietly in the corner, begins to hum a lullaby. The melody is soft and familiar, and soon everyone joins in, their voices blending with the gentle sounds of the night. You close your eyes, letting the music wash over you, and you feel a sense of belonging. Even as a guest, you're welcomed into the family's circle, sharing in their rituals and their comfort. You notice a small clay lamp flickering on the edge of the pool, its flame dancing in the breeze. The mother explains that the lamp is both a light and a kind of mosquito repellent. The smoke from the oil keeps the bugs away, making it easier to sleep outside. It's not perfect, she admits, but it's better than nothing. You smile, thinking that some things never change. No matter how clever the cooling system, there's always a mosquito ready to crash the party. Historians still debate whether these cooling methods were unique to Persia or borrowed from other cultures. Some argue that the Persians developed these techniques independently, while others suggest that the cooling methods of different ancient civilizations may have influenced them. However, everyone agrees that the Persians perfected the art of comfort. You think about your own home, with its humming air conditioner and sealed windows, and you wonder if you're missing out on something. A connection to the world outside, a sense of community, a chance to sleep under the stars. You close your eyes, listening to the gentle splash of water, the soft murmur of voices, and the distant call of a night bird. The city is quiet now, the heat of the day forgotten, replaced by the cool embrace of night. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for the simple wisdom of the people around you, for their ability to turn even the harshest climate into a place of comfort and joy. You drift off to sleep, dreaming of cool breezes and starry skies, knowing that tomorrow will bring discoveries and new ways to keep your cool in the heart of ancient Persia. And if you wake up with a mosquito bite, remember, Even the world's first air conditioning couldn't solve every problem. You wake to the gentle sounds of a Persian morning, soft voices, the splash of water in the courtyard pool, and the distant bray of a donkey somewhere beyond the walls. The air is still cool, clinging to the last traces of night, and you savor it, knowing the sun will soon reclaim its throne. You stretch out on your mat, feeling the smooth tiles beneath you, and watch as the family begins their day. The children are already up, chasing each other around the grapevine, their laughter echoing off the walls. The mother is kneeling by the pool, rinsing herbs for breakfast, while the father tends to a small fire, heating flatbread on a stone. You sit up, rubbing your eyes, and notice how the house seems to breathe with the morning. The doors and windows are open, letting the cool air flow through every room. The wet cloths from last night are still hanging, catching the breeze and sending a faint mist into the air. You realize that the entire house is designed to work with the wind, not against it. Every opening, every wall, every courtyard is part of a system, a living, breathing machine built for comfort. You wander through the house, noticing details you missed the night before. The walls are thick, made of sun-baked mud brick, and the windows are small and high, letting in light but not the harshest rays. The floors are cool under your feet, and you realize that the packed earth and tile hold onto the night's chill, releasing it slowly as the day warms up. You pass a small alcove where the grandmother is grinding herbs, her hands moving in a steady rhythm. She smiles at you, her face lined with years of sun and laughter, and offers you a taste of fresh mint. The flavor is sharp and cool, a little burst of morning energy. Here's your historical fact. Persian architects were masters of airflow. They designed homes with high ceilings, open courtyards, and strategically placed windows to create a natural current of air. The wind catchers you saw yesterday weren't just for show. They were carefully aligned with the prevailing winds, channeling cool air into the house and pushing hot air out. Some homes even had underground tunnels called Shabston, where the air was always calm and fresh. These spaces were used for sleeping, storage, and sometimes even secret meetings. The sheer luxury and comfort of these designs might make you wish for a hidden tunnel or two in your own house, if only to escape awkward family dinners. The father invites you to join him in the Shabston, a low, vaulted room beneath the house. You follow him down a narrow staircase, the air growing cooler with every step. The walls are lined with smooth stone, and the floor is covered in woven mats. It's quiet down here, the sounds of the city muffled by earth and stone. The father explains that the Shabston, a unique feature of Persian homes, stays cool even on the hottest days, thanks to the thick walls and the steady flow of air from the wind catcher above. This is where we come to rest in the afternoon, he says, when the sun is at its fiercest. The Shabston, with its ingenious design, not only provides a fabulous retreat, but also serves as a social space for the family. You sit on a mat, feeling the chill seep into your bones. The air smells faintly of earth and mint, and you close your eyes, letting the coolness wash over you. The father pours you a cup of water from a clay jug, the liquid icy and refreshing. We keep the water down here, he says, so it's always cold. You take a sip, grateful for the simple luxury. You wonder how many generations have sat in this room, escaping the heat and sharing stories. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persian homes had small holes in the floor of the Shabston, connected to underground canets, those ancient water channels you've heard about. The cool air from the canet would rise through the holes, creating a natural air conditioner. Children would sometimes lie on the floor, pressing their faces to the holes and giggling at the rush of cold air. Historians still argue whether this was an intentional design or a happy accident. Still, either way, it's a clever trick that showcases the ingenuity of Persian architects and might make you wish for a canet in your basement. You climb back up to the courtyard, blinking in the bright sunlight. The family is finishing breakfast, and the mother offers you a piece of warm bread, sprinkled with herbs and salt. You eat slowly, savoring the flavors and the cool air drifting through the house. The children are already planning their day, arguing about who gets to fetch water from the well and who has to help with the laundry. You smile, remembering your childhood chores, and wonder if ancient Persian kids ever tried to trade dish duty for a turn in the Shapeston. The family dynamics and the shared responsibilities in the household are a testament to the strong social fabric of Persian culture. As the day heats up, you notice how the house changes. The doors and windows are closed to keep the cool air inside, and the family retreats to the Shapeston for a midday nap. The city outside grows quiet, the streets empty as everyone seeks shelter from the sun. You lie on your mat, listening to the soft sounds of breathing and the distant hum of the wind catcher. The air is cool and still, and you feel a deep sense of peace, a tranquility that is unique to the Persian home. You wake from your nap to the sound of a gentle breeze rustling the grapevine leaves. The sun is lower now, and the city is beginning to stir again. You help the family prepare for the evening meal, chopping herbs and rolling dough for flatbread. The kitchen is warm, but the breeze from the courtyard keeps it comfortable. The grandmother tells you stories of her childhood, of summers spent sleeping on the roof, watching the stars, and listening to the wind. Historians still debate whether Persian homes were the most comfortable in the ancient world. Some argue that the ingenious design of these homes, with their high ceilings, open courtyards, and strategic use of wind catchers, made them the epitome of comfort. Others contend that similar comfort could be found in other ancient civilizations. As you drift off to sleep in the Shapeston, you're convinced they were at least the coolest. You dream of breezes and secret tunnels, of houses that breathe and walls that whisper. When you wake, the sun will be lower, the air softer, and the city ready to come alive again. You stretch, feeling rested and refreshed, and prepare to step back into the world above. The story of Persian air conditioning is far from over, and you're eager to see what other secrets these ancient homes have to offer. You step out of the Shapeston, blinking as your eyes adjust to the golden light of late afternoon. The city is waking up again, the heat of midday fading into a gentle warmth. You wander through the winding streets, feeling the subtle shifts in temperature as you pass from sun to shade, from open squares to narrow alleys. The air is alive with the sounds of merchants calling out their wares, children playing, and the distant splash of water from a fountain. You start to notice how every building, every street, seems to be part of a grand design, a system built to harness the wind and tame the sun. You pause at the entrance to a merchant's house, drawn by the scent of spices and the cool air drifting from within. The merchant, a cheerful man with a bushy beard and a twinkle in his eye, waves you inside. Come in, come in. The breeze is good today. You step through the doorway and feel an immediate drop in temperature. The house is built around a central courtyard, open to the sky but shaded by a lattice of wooden beams and climbing vines. The walls are thick, the floors tiled, and every window is positioned to catch the wind. He leads you through the entryway, pointing out the clever details. "See these tiles?" he says, tapping the blue and white patterns that line the lower walls. They keep the air cool as it moves through the house, and the color makes the room feel even fresher. You run your hand along the smooth surface, feeling the chill that lingers even after a long, hot day. The merchant's children dart past, chasing a ball, their laughter echoing off the walls. You notice that the rooms are arranged to create a gentle flow of air, with doors and windows lined up to let the breeze travel from one end of the house to the other. Here's your historical fact. Persian architects, with their ingenious understanding of airflow, mastered the science of ventilation centuries before the advent of air conditioning. Their designs incorporated high ceilings, tall doors, and strategically placed vents that allowed hot air to escape while drawing in cooler breezes from shaded courtyards and wind catchers. Some houses even featured double walls with air gaps between them, creating a natural insulation that kept the heat out and the cool in. This level of ingenuity is awe-inspiring. The merchant leads you to a corner of the courtyard where a small fountain bubbles quietly. "This is the heart of the house," he says, where water and wind work together. He explains how the fountain not only provides drinking water but also cools the air as it evaporates. The breeze from the wind catcher passes over the water, picking up moisture and carrying it through the house. You sit beside the fountain, feeling the air grow cooler with every breath. It's like sitting inside a living, breathing machine, one powered by nature, not electricity. This connection to nature is what makes the cooling process so unique and special. You notice a series of small vents near the floor, each one covered by a decorative screen. The merchant explains that these vents are connected to underground tunnels, which bring in cool air from the canets, the ancient water channels that run beneath the city. The air down there is always cool, he says, even when the sun is at its hottest. He lifts a corner of the screen, and you feel a rush of cold air against your hand. It's a simple trick, but it works wonders. He shows you another feature, a set of wooden shutters on the upper windows. We close these during the hottest part of the day, he says, to keep the sun out and the cool in. But at night, we open them wide and let the breeze sweep through the house. You look up and see the sky framed by the latticework, the last rays of sunlight painting patterns on the walls. The merchant's wife appears, carrying a tray of fruit and cool water. She offers you a slice of melon, chilled and sweet, and you savor the taste, grateful for the simple luxury and comfort this cooling process provides. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persian homes had secret whispering walls, hollow spaces built into the plaster that carried sound and air from one room to another. Children would use them to send messages, while adults appreciated the extra ventilation. Historians still debate whether these walls were designed for privacy, comfort, or simply for entertainment. Some argue that they were a form of early air conditioning, while others believe they were a means of maintaining privacy in a communal living space. Still, you can't help but imagine a family playing a game of telephone across the house, their voices carried on a cool breeze. You wander through the house, marveling at the clever design. Every room is positioned to catch the best light and the coolest air. The kitchen is on the shady side, the bedrooms face the prevailing wind, and the storage rooms are tucked deep inside, where the temperature stays steady. The merchant's wife shows you a small alcove lined with blue tiles, where she stores fruit and cheese. It stays fresh for days, she says, even in the summer. She explains how the family works together to maintain the cooling system, from opening and closing shutters to managing the water supply. The practicality of the design and the communal effort required to keep it are something to be truly appreciated. You taste a piece of melon, chilled and sweet, and wonder if you've ever appreciated a simple snack so much. As the sun sets, the family gathers in the courtyard for dinner. The air is cool and fragrant, filled with the scent of herbs and roasting meat. You sit with them, sharing stories and laughter, and realize that comfort in ancient Persia wasn't just about technology. It was about community, about working together to create a home that was both beautiful and practical. This sense of community and shared comfort is genuinely heartwarming. In conclusion, the ancient Persian homes were not just architectural marvels, but also a testament to the ingenuity and communal spirit of the people. As the merchant's youngest daughter brings out a clay jug of water, beads of condensation forming on its surface, you realize that the cooling system was not just a technological feat, but a way of life. She pours you a cup, and you notice how cold it is, even after a long day. "We keep it in the coolest corner," she says proudly, "and sometimes we bury it in the earth." You take a sip, feeling the chill spread through your body, and silently thank the architects, builders, and clever families who made this possible. Historians still debate whether Persian airflow science was the most advanced of its time. Still, as you lean back and watch the stars appear above the courtyard, you're convinced that these ancient architects knew precisely what they were doing. You close your eyes, listening to the gentle rush of air through the vents, and feel a deep sense of gratitude for the wisdom of the past. You drift into a peaceful reverie, the cool air wrapping around you like a soft blanket, and you wonder what other secrets the Persians have left for you to discover. The night is young, and the story of ancient air conditioning is far from over. You leave the merchant's house just as the last light of day slips behind the rooftops, and the city begins to glow with the soft lanterns and oil lamps of evening. The air is finally gentle, and you find yourself drawn toward the sound of trickling water and the scent of blooming flowers. You follow a winding path, your sandals brushing against the cool stone, until you reach the entrance of a Persian garden. A paradise hidden behind high walls, where water, wind, and shade come together in a breathtaking harmony. A sight that leaves you in awe. You step inside and the world changes. The garden is a tapestry of green, with tall cypress trees, fragrant roses, and fruit-laden pomegranate bushes. Pathways of smooth stone wind between flower beds and pools, and everywhere you look, water sparkles in the fading light. Fountains bubble in the center of tiled basins, sending up gentle sprays that catch the breeze and fill the air with a cool mist. You take a deep breath, and the scent of jasmine and orange blossoms fills your lungs. It's as if the garden itself is breathing, exhaling calm and comfort. You wander along a shaded path, your fingers trailing through the leaves of a low hedge. The air is noticeably cooler here, and you realize that the garden is more than just a pretty space. It's a living air conditioner. The combination of water, shade, and carefully chosen plants creates a microclimate, dropping the temperature by several degrees. You pause by a long, narrow pool, watching as the breeze ripples the surface and carries the coolness through the garden. A gardener, his hands stained with earth, smiles at you and offers a handful of fresh mint. "Put it in your water," he says, "and you'll feel the garden inside you." Here's your historical fact. Persian gardens, known as paradises or paradisa, were designed not just for beauty but also for climate control. The layout was always geometric, with water channels dividing the space into 4 parts, a design called chaharbagh. These channels, fed by underground canets, kept the soil moist and the air cool, while the trees and vines provided deep shade. The garden was a place to escape the heat, to rest, and to enjoy the pleasures of nature, even in the heart of the desert. You sit on a stone bench beneath a fig tree, sipping mint water and listening to the gentle music of the fountains. The garden is alive with quiet activity, birds flitting from branch to branch, bees buzzing among the flowers, and neighbors strolling along the paths, greeting each other with soft voices. You notice a group of elders gathered in a pavilion, playing a game of chess and sharing stories with one another. Children chase each other around the pools, their laughter echoing off the walls. The garden is a sanctuary for everyone, a shared refuge from the heat and the worries of the day, a place that brings a sense of relief and peace. You wander deeper into the garden, following the sound of running water. You find a small channel, its banks lined with smooth stones, carrying water from the canet to every corner of the garden. The gardener explains that the flow is carefully controlled, with small gates and weirs that direct the water where it's needed most. "We listen to the plants," he says, "and they tell us when they're thirsty." You watch as he adjusts a gate, sending a fresh stream to a bed of roses, and you marvel at the quiet wisdom of the system. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Persian gardens were so famous for their coolness that travelers would write poems about them, comparing the air to the breath of paradise. In the hottest months, people would sleep in the gardens, spreading their mats beneath the trees and letting the night breeze lull them to sleep. Historians still debate whether the gardens were inspired by ancient myths of Eden or simply by the need to survive the summer heat. Regardless, everyone agrees that they were a triumph of design and imagination, a historical marvel that invokes a sense of reverence. You pause at a marble platform where a small group is gathered for tea. The host pours you a glass of tea, fragrant with cardamom and rose petals, and you sip it slowly, feeling the cool air swirl around you. The conversation drifts from poetry to gardening tips to the best way to keep mosquitoes away. The answer is to plant lots of basil and hope for the best. Someone recites a verse about the garden's beauty, and everyone nods in agreement, as if the words themselves are a kind of blessing. As night falls, lanterns are lit along the paths, casting a golden glow on the leaves and water. The garden becomes a magical place, filled with the soft sounds of music and conversation. You join a group of neighbors sitting by a fountain, sharing fruit and cool drinks. Someone begins to sing, their voice rising and falling with the breeze, and you feel a deep sense of peace. The garden is more than just a place. It's a way of life, a reminder that even in the harshest climate, beauty and comfort are possible. You notice a clever detail. The garden's walls are built extra thick, not just for privacy, but to keep the heat out and the cool in. The gates are set at angles, so the wind is funneled through the garden, picking up moisture from the pools and carrying it through every corner. Even the paving stones are chosen for their ability to stay cool underfoot, so you can walk barefoot without burning your toes. You realize that every detail, from the placement of the trees to the shape of the fountains, is part of a grand design. A living, breathing machine built for comfort. You lie back on the grass, staring up at the stars as they appear one by one. The air is cool and fragrant, and you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the wisdom of the past. You wonder how many generations have found peace in this garden, how many stories have been told beneath these trees, and how many dreams have been shaped by the gentle rhythm of water and wind. Historians still debate whether Persian gardens were the first true air-conditioned spaces, but as you sit beneath the trees, feeling the cool air on your skin, you're convinced that they were. You close your eyes, listening to the water and the wind, and you let yourself drift, carried by the gentle rhythm of the garden. You realize that the secret of Persian cooling isn't just in the technology. It's in the harmony between people, nature, and design. The garden is a living lesson, a place where every detail works together to create comfort and joy. You stand, ready to explore more, your heart full of gratitude for the wisdom of the past and the beauty of the present. You promise yourself that, wherever you go, you'll never forget the feeling of this incredible, green paradise in the heart of the desert. You leave the garden behind, the scent of jasmine and mint still clinging to your clothes, and wander back into the city's winding streets. The night is alive now, but in a different way, quieter, softer, as if the whole town is taking a deep, cool breath. You follow the glow of lanterns and the sound of distant singing, and soon you find yourself near a fire temple, its walls glowing in the moonlight. The air here feels different, almost sacred, and you sense that you're about to witness another layer of Persian life. The spiritual side of air, water, and cooling. You approach the temple, where a group of Zoroastrian priests is gathered around a sacred fire. The flames dance and flicker, casting long shadows on the ground. The priests wear white robes and tall felt hats, their faces calm and focused. You watch as they tend the fire, adding sprigs of fragrant herbs and whispering prayers. The air is filled with the scent of sandalwood and the soft crackle of burning wood. You feel a gentle breeze swirl around you, and for a moment, it's as if the fire and the wind are speaking to each other. You step closer, drawn by the warmth of the fire and the coolness of the night air. The temple's architecture is striking: thick mud brick walls, high arched doorways, and open courtyards that seem to invite the wind inside. You notice that the fire is never left alone. There is always someone tending it, feeding it, and making sure it never goes out. The priests move with a quiet purpose, their movements almost a dance, as they balance the elements of fire, air, and water. Here's your historical fact. Zoroastrianism, the ancient religion of Persia, placed a special emphasis on the elements, especially fire, water, and air. Fire was seen as a symbol of purity and truth, and temples were built to protect and honor it. Water was also sacred, believed to be a gift from the gods and essential for life. The Persians developed elaborate systems to maintain the purity and freshness of their water, and many rituals involved the careful balance of both fire and water. The connection between religion and climate control ran deep, shaping the way people built their homes, gardens, and even their cities. You watch as the priests pour water into a shallow basin, letting it evaporate and cool the air around the fire. The combination of fire and water, heat and coolness, seems almost magical. One of the priests notices your curiosity and beckons you closer. He explains that the temple is designed to harness the wind, with open courtyards and high walls that funnel the breeze toward the sacred fire. The wind keeps the fire alive, he says, and the fire keeps the people strong. You nod, feeling the truth of his words in the gentle air that brushes your face. He leads you to a side chamber, where a small underground channel brings cool water from a distant Khanate, an ancient Persian system of underground aqueducts. The air here is noticeably cooler, and you realize that the temple is not just a place of worship but a carefully engineered refuge from the heat. The priest dips his hand into the water and invites you to do the same. The water is icy cold, and you feel a shiver run up your arm. "This is the breath of the earth," he says, smiling. "It keeps us pure and strong." Here's your quirky tidbit. Some Zoroastrian temples had underground chambers called air wells, where cool air was trapped and stored for use during rituals. Priests would sometimes sit in these chambers to meditate, believing that the pure, cool air helped them connect with the divine. Historians still debate whether these air wells were a practical invention or a spiritual one. Some argue that they were a practical solution to the heat, while others believe they were a deliberate design to enhance the spiritual experience. Either way, they added another layer to the Persian mastery of climate control. You wander through the temple complex, noticing how every space is designed to balance light, air, and water. The walls are thick, the windows small, and the courtyards open to the sky. Pools of water reflect the moonlight, and the sound of trickling fountains fills the air. You see families gathered in quiet corners, sharing food and stories, their faces lit by the soft glow of lanterns. The temple is not just a place of worship, it's a refuge from the heat, a sanctuary where the elements are honored and tamed, and a community space where people come together to share their lives. You sit by a pool, dipping your fingers into the cool water. The priest joins you, offering a handful of dried fruit and nuts. He tells you about the ancient rituals that shaped Persian life, how people would gather at dawn to greet the sun, how they would use water to purify themselves before prayer, and how the wind was seen as a messenger from the gods. You listen, feeling the weight of centuries in his words, and you realize that the Persian obsession with cooling was never just about comfort. It was about respect for the world, for the forces that shape life, and for the delicate balance between heat and coolness. The depth of these practices fills you with a sense of awe and wonder, inspiring you with the breathtaking beauty of Persian culture. As the night deepens, the temple grows quiet. The fire burns low, the priests finish their prayers, and the families drift away into the cool darkness. You linger for a moment, watching the last embers glow, and a profound sense of peace washes over you. The city outside is still, the air soft and sweet, and you know that you've glimpsed something rare, a culture where technology, nature, and spirituality are woven together like the threads of a tapestry. This tranquility leaves you feeling calm and serene, a testament to the profound harmony of Persian culture. You stroll back through the temple's open courtyards, feeling the cool air swirl around your ankles. You notice a group of children playing near a fountain, their laughter echoing in the night. The priest waves goodbye, reminding you to always honor the wind and water. You promise you will and step out into the moonlit street, your heart lighter and your mind full of wonder. Historians still debate how much Zoroastrian beliefs influenced Persian engineering, but as you walk away from the temple, you're convinced that the answer is a lot. You feel the cool air on your skin and the memory of water and fire in your mind, and you know that you're part of a story that stretches back thousands of years. This sense of connection to the rich history and culture of Persia leaves you feeling engaged and inspired. You wander home through the quiet streets, the city bathed in moonlight, and you promise yourself to remember the lessons of the night. Respect the elements, honor the balance, and always keep a slight coolness in your heart. You wake the next morning to the gentle hush of dawn, the city of Persia still wrapped in a cool, blue light. The air is fresh, and you savor it, knowing that soon the sun will rise and the world will begin to shimmer with heat again. You stretch, feeling the comfort of a good night's sleep, and remember the lessons of the fire temple, the balance of wind, water, and spirit. Today, you're ready to travel beyond the city walls, following the ancient trade routes such as the Silk Road and the Spice Route that carried Persian ideas far and wide. You're about to see how Persian engineering didn't just stay at home. It spread across continents, providing comfort and changing the way people lived from Egypt to Greece and beyond. You join a caravan at the city gate, camels loaded with goods and travelers wrapped in light robes. The road is long and dusty, but the company is lively. Merchants share stories of distant lands, and you listen as they talk about the wonders of Persian cities. How even in the hottest places, people found ways to stay cool. One merchant boasts about the wind catchers of Yazd, a unique tower-like structure designed to catch and direct the wind into buildings. At the same time, another describes the ice houses of Isfahan, where ice was stored underground in yakshals to keep it from melting. These are just a few examples of Persian cooling technology, which also includes the use of cannons for underground cooling and the design of shaded courtyards for natural ventilation. You realize that Persian cooling technology was a source of pride, something to be shared and shown off to the world. The caravan moves slowly, winding its way through the desert. The sun climbs higher, and the heat becomes a living thing, pressing down on you with every step. You're grateful for the shade of your headscarf and the cool water in your clay jug. As you travel, you notice how the landscape changes. Rocky hills give way to sandy plains, and the air shimmers with heat. Yet, even here, you spot signs of Persian ingenuity. A cannet entrance half hidden by stones, a cluster of date palms marking a hidden spring, and a domed yakshal rising like a mirage in the distance. These innovations, based on the principles of wind, utilizing wind catchers for ventilation, water, using cannons for underground cooling, and shade, designing buildings with shaded courtyards for natural ventilation, were the foundation of Persian cooling technology. Here's your historical fact. As the Persian Empire expanded, so did its innovations. Knowledge of cannons, wind catchers, and yakshals spread among traders, soldiers, and scholars. In Egypt, you hear about new wells and underground channels inspired by Persian designs. In Greece, architects began to experiment with courtyards and shaded porticos, borrowing ideas from their eastern neighbors. Even the Romans, famous for their baths and fountains, took notes from Persian engineers. Historians still debate the exact extent of Persia's influence on its neighbors. Still, the evidence is everywhere, in the ruins of ancient cities, in the blueprints of forgotten architects, and in the stories told by travelers like you. The caravan stops at an oasis, a patch of green in the endless desert. You dismount and walk to the edge of a pool, where cool water bubbles up from underground. The oasis is ringed with date palms and fig trees, their leaves casting deep shade. You sit with a group of travelers, sharing bread and fruit, and listen as they talk about the wonders they've seen. One man describes a palace in Egypt with walls so thick you could nap inside at noon and never break a sweat. Another tells of a Greek villa with a central courtyard, where the air is always calm and sweet. You realize that Persian ideas have taken root in distant lands, growing and changing with each new culture. You wander through the oasis, marveling at the clever ways people have adapted Persian techniques. You see a small wind catcher perched atop a mud brick house, its slats angled to catch the breeze. A local woman explains that her family learned to build it from a Persian trader who passed through years ago. Now, even in the hottest months, we can sleep in comfort, she says, smiling. You peek inside her home and feel the cool air drifting down from the tower, a testament to the adaptability and ingenuity of Persian cooling techniques. It's a moment that brings you relief and gratitude for the comfort these techniques provide. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some ancient travelers were so impressed by Persian cooling systems that they tried to build their versions, sometimes with hilarious results. There are stories of Greek philosophers debating the best way to catch a breeze and Egyptian builders digging cannons that inadvertently flooded their neighbors' gardens. Historians still argue whether these early copycat projects were successes or disasters, but everyone agrees that the Persian reputation for comfort was legendary. You imagine a Greek architect scratching his head, wondering why his windcatcher only brings in dust, not cool air. You continue your journey, passing through towns and villages where the influence of Persia is everywhere. You see windcatchers rising above mud-brick houses, their slats angled to catch the desert wind. You spot yakshals tucked behind market stalls, their domes gleaming in the sun. In one village, a group of children shows you how they cool their water jars by burying them in the sand. A trick they say came from the wise men of the East. You smile, realizing that the wisdom of Persia has become part of daily life for people far from its borders. As the day grows hotter, you find shelter in a Greek-style courtyard, its columns casting long shadows on the tiled floor. The air is cool, and you hear the gentle splash of a fountain in the center. You sit with a group of scholars, their scrolls spread out on the table, and listen as they debate the merits of Persian versus Greek engineering. One scholar insists that nothing beats a Persian windcatcher, while another swears by the Greek love of marble and open space. You realize that the exchange of ideas is as important as the inventions themselves, a conversation that stretches across centuries and continents. This cultural exchange, where Persians learned from the Greeks and vice versa, is a testament to the interconnectedness of human history. It leaves you feeling enlightened and connected to the past. You notice a small plaque on the wall, inscribed with a dedication to the friends from Persia who taught us the art of coolness. You run your fingers over the letters, feeling the connection between past and present, east and west. Historians still debate how much credit Persia deserves for the world's first cool revolution. But as you rest in the shade, you're convinced that the answer is quite a lot. You think about the people you've met, the places you've seen, and the simple, elegant solutions that have made life in the hottest places not just bearable but beautiful. As the sun sets, you return to the caravan, ready to continue your journey. The road ahead is long, but you travel with a new sense of wonder, knowing that every breeze, every pool of water, and every patch of shade is part of a story that began in the heart of ancient Persia. You promise yourself to remember these lessons, to share them with others, and to always look for the cool spot, no matter where you are in the world. As you return from your journey with the caravan, your mind brimming with tales of distant lands and the ingenious ways of Persian cooling that have spread far and wide, you're eager to witness how these concepts have shaped the cities of Persia. Setting out at sunrise, the air still brisk, you head towards Yazd, a town renowned for its windcatchers, its maze of narrow lanes, and its status as one of the most remarkable places in the ancient world, even amidst the scorching desert. Approaching Yazd, the skyline presents a sight unlike any other. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of windcatchers tower above the rooftops, their tall structures capturing every breeze that ventures into the city. Some are square, some are octagonal, and some have multiple openings that face all directions. The effect is almost whimsical, like a city built by people who believe that air should be welcomed, not shut out. Passing through the city gates, you feel the temperature drop with each step, realizing that this is a place where comfort is not just a luxury, it's a way of life. You wander through the old city, ducking into shaded alleys and peeking into courtyards. Every home has its version of a windcatcher, some simple, some elaborate, all designed to catch the best breeze. You meet a craftsman repairing the slats of a tower, his hands stained with clay and lime. He explains how each windcatcher is tuned to the house it serves. Some are built for the strong north wind, while others are built for the gentler east wind. It's like music, he says. Every house has its song. You smile, imagining the city as a giant orchestra, each windcatcher playing its part. Here's your historical fact. Yazd is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, and its architecture is a living museum of Persian cooling technology. The city's layout is designed to maximize shade and airflow, with narrow streets that twist and turn, high walls that block the sun, and houses built close together to create pockets of coolness. The windcatchers, badgers, are the city's signature, and they work in harmony with underground cannons and thick mud-brick walls to keep the air fresh and the rooms comfortable, even in the height of summer. You step into a public bathhouse, the air inside cool and fragrant with rosewater. The attendant shows you how the bath is kept comfortable. Water from the canet flows beneath the floor, cooling the tiles, while vents in the ceiling let hot air escape. You sit on a bench, feeling the chill seep up from the ground, and marvel at the simple elegance of the design. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some bathhouses in Yazd were so famous for their coolness that people would visit to nap on the cold tiles, especially during the hottest part of the day. Historians still argue whether these bathhouses were more popular for bathing or sleeping, but everyone agrees they were a vital part of city life. You leave the bathhouse and wander into a neighborhood where the streets are so narrow you can touch both walls at once. The shade is deep, and the air is cool despite the sun being high. You see children playing in the alleys, their laughter echoing off the walls, and women carrying baskets of bread and fruit, their faces shaded by wide scarves. You realize that the city itself is a living air conditioner, every detail designed to make life not just possible, but pleasant. You climb to the roof of a tall house, the city spread out below you like a patchwork of domes and towers. The wind is strong up here, and you watch as it flows through the wind catchers, down into the rooms below. You see pigeons perched on the towers, enjoying the breeze, and you wonder if even the birds have learned to appreciate Persian engineering. You sit for a while, letting the wind play with your hair, and you feel a deep sense of peace. You're invited into a family home for tea, and you notice how the rooms are arranged around a central courtyard, with doors and windows perfectly aligned to catch the wind. The family explains that in Yazd, everyone knows how to build for comfort. We learn from our parents, and they learned from theirs. The grandmother says, pouring you a glass of cool, rose-scented water. It's our tradition. You sip the water, feeling the chill, and marvel at how the wisdom of centuries is woven into every brick and beam. As the afternoon heat intensifies, you observe neighbors gathering in the shade of a large wind catcher, sharing fruit and stories. Children play a game, racing to find the coolest spot in the house. The winner claims a prize, a slice of melon, chilled in a clay pot buried in the earth. You chuckle, reminiscing about your childhood games, and realize that comfort in Yazd is not just about technology but about community and joy. Historians still debate whether Yazd is the most fabulous city in the ancient world, but as you watch the sun set over the towers, you're convinced it must be. You think about all the people who have lived here, all the generations who have built and rebuilt the city, always searching for new ways to stay comfortable. You realize that the story of Persian air conditioning is not just about technology. It's about community, creativity, and the endless search for a better way to live. As night falls, you make your way back down to the street, the city glowing with lanterns and the promise of another incredible night. You promise yourself to remember Yazd, to carry its lessons with you, and to always look for the breeze, no matter where you are. You take one last look at the wind catchers, their silhouettes sharp against the starry sky, and you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the wisdom of the past and the comfort of the present. You linger in Yazd as the evening deepens, drawn by the gentle hum of life that fills the city after sunset. The air is cool and sweet, and you notice how the city's design encourages people to come together outside. You wander through the winding lanes, past open doorways where families are setting out rugs and cushions in their courtyards. The scent of grilled lamb and fresh herbs drifts on the breeze, and you realize that in Persia, the night is just as important as the day, maybe even more so when it comes to comfort and community. You're invited to join a family for their evening meal, and you accept with a grateful smile. Lanterns light the courtyard, their soft glow reflecting off the whitewashed walls. The family gathers around a low table, sharing dishes of rice, stewed vegetables, and cool yogurt with mint. The children laugh and chase each other around the fountain, their bare feet slapping on the cool tiles. You sit back, savoring the food and the company, and notice how the conversation drifts from stories of the day to plans for the night ahead. After dinner, the family brings out a setar, a traditional Persian instrument, and the father begins to play a gentle melody. The music floats on the breeze, mingling with the sound of water from the fountain. The grandmother sings a lullaby, her voice soft and soothing, and the children curl up on cushions, their eyes growing heavy with sleep. You realize that the night is a time for connection, a time to slow down, to listen, and to rest. Here's your historical fact. In ancient Persia, social life often revolved around the cool hours of the evening. Families would gather in courtyards or on rooftops, sharing meals, music, and stories with one another. The city's unique architectural features, its wind catchers, courtyards, and shaded alleys, were designed to allow residents to enjoy the outdoors even in the hottest months. People slept on rooftops under the stars, hosted celebrations in garden pavilions, and took advantage of the cool night air to refresh both their bodies and spirits. The city was not just designed for survival but also for joy. You're invited up to the roof, where the family has set out blankets and pillows for the night. The stars are bright above, and the city glows softly below, each wind catcher silhouetted against the sky. You lie back, feeling the cool air on your skin, and listen to the quiet sounds of the city. Distant laughter, the call of a night bird, and the gentle splash of water in the courtyard below. The grandmother points out constellations, telling stories of heroes and lovers, and you feel a sense of wonder at the vastness of the sky. Here's your quirky tidbit. In some Persian cities, people would compete to see who could create the coolest, most comfortable sleeping spot on the roof. Families would sprinkle water on the tiles, set out woven mats, and even hang wet sheets to catch the breeze. The winner, usually the person who woke up with the fewest mosquito bites, earned bragging rights for the day. Historians still argue whether these rooftop sleepovers were more about comfort or competition, but everyone agrees they were a beloved part of Persian life. You notice how the rooftop is designed for comfort. The walls are just high enough to block the wind but low enough to let you see the stars. The tiles are smooth and cool, and the family has placed clay jars of water in the corners to keep the air moist. The children giggle as they dip their toes in the jars, daring each other to see who can keep their feet in the cold water the longest. The father tells you that on especially hot nights, they sometimes sleep with their heads at the edge of the roof so that they can feel the breeze on their faces. As the night deepens, the city grows quieter. You hear the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the occasional bark of a dog, and the steady, comforting rhythm of your breath. You realize that in Persia, the night is not just a time for sleep. It's a time for dreaming, for sharing, for finding peace in the company of others. The architecture, the gardens, the wind catchers, all are designed to make the most of these precious hours, to turn the city into a place of comfort and beauty. The city at night is a testament to the Persian commitment to comfort and aesthetics. The grandmother shares a story about her childhood, when she and her sisters would sneak up to the roof with a basket of fruit and whisper secrets under the stars. She laughs, remembering how they would try to stay awake all night, only to fall asleep before midnight. "The stars always win," she says, and you nod, feeling the truth of her words as your eyelids grow heavy. This tradition of storytelling under the stars is a cherished part of Persian culture, passing down history and wisdom from one generation to the next. Her stories, filled with wonder and intrigue, make you feel even more connected to this rich culture. As you drift off to sleep on the rooftop, you're convinced that Persian nights must have been the most comfortable in the ancient world. You feel a deep sense of connection to the past, to all the people who have shared nights like this, and to the families who have gathered under the stars. This deep connection to history fills you with a sense of nostalgia and appreciation for the rich cultural heritage of Persia. You close your eyes, letting the cool air and the soft sounds of the city lull you to sleep. You dream of gardens and fountains, of music and laughter, of a world where comfort is not just a luxury but a way of life. When you wake, the sun will rise on another day in Persia, and you'll be ready to discover even more secrets of this ancient, ingenious civilization. As dawn approaches, you wake to the gentle light of the rising sun, the city still quiet and peaceful. The family stirs around you, stretching and smiling, ready to greet the new day. You thank them for their hospitality, promising to remember the lessons of the night, to cherish the cool hours, to share stories and laughter, and to always look for the breeze, wherever you are. You're filled with excitement and eagerness to discover more of the secrets of this ancient, ingenious civilization. You rise with the sun, feeling refreshed from your rooftop sleep, but as you stretch and look out over Yazd, you notice something else stirring in the city. Not every night is perfect, and not every breeze is gentle. Sometimes the desert reminds everyone who's really in charge. You hear the first gusts of wind rattling the clay tiles, and you see neighbors hurrying to bring in laundry and close the shutters on their wind catchers. The city is about to face one of its less glamorous realities: dust, bugs, and the endless battle to keep everything in working order. Yet, amidst these challenges, the people of Yazd display remarkable resilience, a quality honed by generations of desert living. You help the family gather their bedding and head downstairs, just as a cloud of dust sweeps through the alley. The air is suddenly thick and gritty, and you cough, covering your mouth with your sleeve. The children groan, knowing that today will be a day of sweeping and cleaning. The father shrugs and says, "This is the price of living with the wind." You realize that, despite its comfort, Persian air conditioning comes with a few trade-offs. Here's your historical fact. Wind catchers and open courtyards are fabulous for cooling, but they also let in dust, sand, and the occasional swarm of insects. In Yazd and other desert cities, families kept brooms and water jars by every door, ready to sweep and sprinkle the floors to keep the dust down. Some homes even had special screens or cloths to cover the wind catcher openings during sandstorms. The battle against the elements was constant, and everyone had their tricks for keeping the house clean and the air fresh. You help the mother hang wet cloths over the windows, a simple trick to catch dust and let the breeze cool. She laughs and tells you that sometimes the wind brings more than just sand. Last week, a pigeon tried to build a nest in our wind catcher. We had to chase it out with a broom. The children giggle, remembering the chaos, and you can't help but smile at the image of a determined pigeon trying to claim the city's best air vent. Here's your quirky tidbit. In some neighborhoods, people would compete to see who could keep their wind catcher the cleanest. There were even stories of children sneaking onto rooftops at night to stuff a rival's wind catcher with straw or feathers to slow down their breeze. Historians still debate whether these pranks were all in good fun or the beginning of lifelong feuds. Still, everyone agrees that maintaining the air of camaraderie was a matter of pride. This sense of camaraderie, of being part of a community that shares both the joys and the challenges of desert living, is a unique aspect of life in Yazd. You notice the father inspecting the wind catcher, checking for cracks and loose slats. He explains that regular maintenance is essential. If the tower isn't kept in good repair, it can let in more heat than cool or even collapse in a strong wind. It's like having a pet, he jokes. You have to feed it, clean it, and sometimes chase away the animals. You help him patch a crack with fresh clay, your hands quickly covered in dust and grit. It's hard work, but as the wind catcher stands tall and ready for the next breeze, you can't help but feel a sense of pride in the community's collective efforts. As the day goes on, you see more of the city's less glamorous side. A neighbor complains about ants invading her kitchen, drawn by the cool, damp air of the Shapeston. Another grumbles about a broken cannet, an ancient underground water channel that has left half the street without water for the afternoon. These cannets not only provided water but also contributed to the city's cooling. You realize that for all its beauty and comfort, Persian cooling is a constant balancing act, one that requires patience, teamwork, and a good sense of humor. Historians still debate whether the downsides of ancient air conditioning outweighed the benefits. Still, as you sweep the dust from the courtyard and help the children chase a stubborn beetle out of the kitchen, you decide that every system has its quirks. You think about your own home, with its humming air conditioner and sealed windows, and you wonder if you'd trade a little dust and a few bugs for the chance to sleep under the stars and feel the wind on your face. As evening falls, the dust settles and the city breathes a sigh of relief. The air is cool again, and neighbors gather in the courtyards to share stories of the day's adventures. You sit with the family, your hands still dusty, and laugh about the pigeon, the beetle, and the endless battle against the desert. You realize that comfort isn't just about technology. It's about resilience, creativity, and the ability to find joy even when things don't go as planned. You close your eyes, listening to the gentle rustle of the wind in the grapevines, and you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the people of Persia. Their ingenuity, their humor, and their willingness to embrace both the beauty and the messiness of life in the desert. You wake the next morning to the sound of distant voices and the gentle clatter of tools. The dust storm has passed, leaving the city washed clean and the air fresh. You step outside and notice neighbors already at work, sweeping courtyards, repairing wind catchers, and checking the Canet channels for any blockages. The city feels renewed, as if the storm was just another part of the rhythm of life. You realize that, for the people of Persia, maintenance is not a chore. It's a tradition, a shared responsibility that keeps the old wisdom alive and fosters a deep sense of community, to which you also belong. You decide to explore how these ancient cooling methods have survived into the present. You wander through Yazd's old neighborhoods, but this time you notice something new. Alongside the centuries-old wind catchers and mud brick walls, there are satellite dishes, electric fans, and the hum of modern life. Yet the old and new seem to blend. You see a young man on a rooftop, smartphone in hand, carefully patching a crack in his family's wind catcher. Down the street, a grandmother sprinkles water on the tiles, just as her ancestors did, while her granddaughter posts a photo of the scene online. You pass a group of children playing in the shade of a Canet entrance, their laughter echoing off the walls. One of them explains, with the pride of a budding engineer, how the water flows from the mountains calm and clear, all the way to their neighborhood. "My father says it's the best water in the world," he boasts, and you can't help but agree as you take a sip from a nearby clay jug, the water icy and refreshing even in the morning sun. Here's your historical fact. Many of Persia's ancient cooling systems are still in use today, especially in cities like Yazd, Kerman, and Kashan. Modern Iranians continue to rely on wind catchers, Canets, and thick-walled homes to keep cool, even as air conditioners and electric fans become more common. In some places, new buildings are designed with traditional features, such as courtyards, shaded windows, and rooftop sleeping areas, because people recognize that these old ideas still work, and sometimes even work better than the latest technology. You visit a local school, where children are learning about their city's history. The teacher explains how the Canets bring water from distant mountains, how the wind catchers catch the breeze, and how the Yakshals store ice for the hottest days. The children listen with wide eyes, proud of their heritage. One boy raises his hand and asks if he can build a model wind catcher for the science fair. The teacher smiles and says, "Of course, maybe you'll invent the next great cooling system." The class erupts in excitement, and you realize that the spirit of innovation, especially among the younger generation, is not just alive but thriving, ensuring the preservation and evolution of these ancient traditions. You stop by a workshop where an older craftsman is teaching his apprentice how to repair a wind catcher. The apprentice listens carefully as the master explains the importance of every angle and every brick. The wind catcher, a traditional Persian cooling system, is a tower-like structure with openings that catch the breeze and direct it into the building, providing a natural form of air conditioning. If you build it right, the master says, the wind will do the rest. You watch as they mix clay and straw, their hands moving with practiced skill, and you're struck by the sense of continuity. Knowledge passed down through generations, each one adding a little more wisdom to the mix. Here's your quirky tidbit. In some modern Iranian cities, there are competitions to see who can restore the oldest wind catcher or keep a Canet running the longest. Families take pride in their cooling traditions, and some even host rooftop sleepovers for neighbors and friends, just like in ancient times. Historians still debate whether these traditions stem from nostalgia or necessity, but everyone agrees that they preserve the spirit of Persian ingenuity and innovation. You hear about a family that claims their windcatcher is the oldest in the city and another that boasts their yakshal still keeps ice frozen throughout the summer. You meet an engineer who is working on a new apartment building. He shows you the blueprints, pointing out the thick walls, the shaded balconies, and the central courtyard. We use the old ideas, he says, because they work. The windcatcher is our best air conditioner, a symbol of Persian ingenuity. He laughs and adds, and it never needs electricity, just a little care and a good breeze. You realize that, in Iran, the past is not just a memory. It's a living guide for the future, and the windcatcher stands as a testament to the culture's innovative spirit. You wander through a bazaar, where vendors sell everything from fresh fruit to solar panels. You overhear a group of elders debating the best way to keep a house cool. One insists on the power of the windcatcher, another swears by the yakshal, and a third says nothing beats a nap in the shapeston. The shapeston, a traditional underground room, is a fabulous retreat from the heat of the day and a popular spot for afternoon naps. You smile, realizing that the conversation hasn't changed much in 1,000 years. Everyone still wants to find the coolest place in the house. As evening falls, you join a family on their rooftop for tea. The city glows with lanterns, and the air is filled with the scent of jasmine and mint. The grandmother tells stories of her childhood, of sleeping under the stars and listening to the wind in the towers. The children listen wide-eyed, and you sense that these memories will become their own stories one day. You notice how the rooftop is arranged for comfort, with clay jars of water in the corners, woven mats spread out to catch the breeze, and a low wall to block the strongest gusts. The family explains that, even with modern conveniences, they still prefer to sleep outside on hot nights. The air is sweeter up here, the mother says, pouring you a glass of cool water, and the stars are always watching. Historians still debate whether modern Iran will hold onto these ancient traditions as the world changes. But as you sip your tea and watch the windcatchers turn in the breeze, you're hopeful. You see young people learning from their elders, engineers blending old and new, and families finding comfort in the wisdom of the past. You realize that the legacy of Persian cooling is not just about technology. It's about resilience, creativity, and the joy of living well, even in the hottest places. It's a testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt and thrive in any environment. You close your eyes, feeling the cool air on your face, and you promise yourself to remember these lessons, to honor the old ways, to welcome the new, and to always look for the breeze, wherever you go. You wake to the softest morning yet, the city of Yazd bathed in golden light and the rooftops still cool from the night's gentle breeze. You stretch, feeling the comfort of the old ways, and realize your journey through Persian cooling has brought you full circle, from the ancient palaces and ingenious windcatchers to the modern rooftops where families still gather under the stars. Today, you're ready to reflect on the enduring legacy of the revolution that started here, in the heart of the desert, and changed the way people everywhere live, rest, and dream. You wander through the city one last time, savoring every detail. The windcatchers stand tall, their slats angled just so, catching the first breath of morning air. The cannons run quietly beneath your feet, their water calm and clear, feeding gardens and fountains that shimmer in the sunlight. You pass a yakshal, its dome rising like a memory from the earth, and you imagine the thrill of tasting ice in the middle of summer, centuries before anyone had heard of electricity or refrigeration. You realize that every part of this city is a testament to human ingenuity, a living museum of comfort built not with machines, but with wisdom, patience, and a deep respect for nature. You pause in a garden, the air fragrant with roses and orange blossoms, and watch as a group of children play by a fountain. Their laughter echoes through the trees, and you realize that the real legacy of Persian cooling isn't just in the bricks and towers. It's in the way people come together, finding comfort and joy even in the harshest places. The garden is alive with life, a living reminder that beauty and comfort can flourish anywhere if you know how to listen to the wind and follow the water. You make your way to a bustling bazaar, where the stalls are bursting with color and life. You see vendors selling clay water jars, hand-painted fans, and even tiny model wind catchers for tourists to take home. The air is filled with the scent of spices and the sound of friendly bargaining. You overhear a group of elders reminiscing about the old days, when every family knew how to patch a wind catcher or dig a cannet, and you realize that these stories are as much a part of the city as the buildings themselves, shaping its identity and fostering a deep respect for tradition. Here's a fascinating historical fact. The Persian approach to cooling was truly revolutionary. By ingeniously combining wind, water, earth, and clever design, the Persians developed the world's first effective air conditioning systems, catering to everyone, from kings in their palaces to merchants in their homes. These innovative ideas didn't confine themselves to Persia. They journeyed across the globe, inspiring architects and engineers from Egypt to India, from Greece to Rome, and even influencing the way we construct and live today. You pause to watch an artisan at work, shaping clay into a new water jug. He explains that the shape is designed to keep water cool, even on the hottest days. It's the same design my grandfather used, he says, and his grandfather before him. You realize that the revolution of coolness is not just about grand inventions, but about small, everyday acts of wisdom, choosing the right materials, building with the climate in mind, and passing down knowledge from one generation to the next. Here's your quirky tidbit. In some parts of Iran, people still celebrate the first cool breeze of summer with a small festival. Families gather on rooftops, sharing fruit and stories, and children race to see who can feel the breeze first. It's a tradition that goes back centuries, a playful nod to the old wisdom that made life in the desert not just possible, but delightful. Historians still argue whether this is the world's oldest air conditioning party, but everyone agrees it's a celebration of ingenuity and hope. As you stroll through the city's oldest quarter, where the walls are stout and the alleys are narrow, designed to repel the sun and encourage air circulation, you witness a group of teenagers relaxing in the shade, their phones in hand, but their backs against the cool mud brick walls. Even in this age of technology, the old ways persist. The story of Persian resilience is not a thing of the past. It is being written every day by people who refuse to let the desert conquer them. You ponder your own home, your methods of staying cool, and you wonder what lessons you'll carry with you. Perhaps a newfound appreciation for the breeze, a desire to open your windows, or simply a memory of sleeping under the stars. Historians still debate whether the Persians invented air conditioning or perfected the art of comfort. But as you leave the city, you know the answer doesn't matter. What matters is the spirit of invention, the willingness to try, to adapt, and to share what works. The world's first cool revolution began here, and its echoes are everywhere. In every shaded courtyard, every rooftop gathering, every cool drink of water on a hot day. You cast one final glance at the city, the wind catchers standing tall against the sky, and you feel a profound sense of gratitude. You make a personal commitment to remember these lessons, to impart them to others, and always to seek out the breeze, wherever you may be. The revolution is not a thing of the past. It's just beginning, and you are now a part of it. And now, as the sun sets gently over the rooftops of Yazd, you find yourself slowing down, your breath matching the soft rhythm of the evening breeze. The city grows quiet, the lanterns flicker on, and the air cools, wrapping you in a gentle embrace. You remember the sound of water trickling through the cannets, the laughter of children playing in the gardens, and the peaceful hush of families gathering on rooftops to share stories under the stars. The wisdom of the past lingers in every corner, in every stone and every shadow, reminding you that comfort is not just a luxury, but a birthright, a gift passed down through generations, shaped by patience, creativity, and hope. You let your mind drift, imagining the cool touch of clay tiles beneath your feet, the scent of mint and rosewater in the air, and the whisper of the wind catcher as it brings the desert night to life. You feel safe, at ease, and deeply connected to a world that has always known how to find beauty in the harshest places. As you close your eyes, the city fades into a dream, and you carry with you the gentle promise of coolness, comfort, and peace. Let the night settle around you, soft and slow, and may your dreams be filled with the quiet joy of a breeze on a summer night, the laughter of friends, and the endless wonder of a world that knows how to keep its cool.